The sky above the alien world was always dark. No stars, no light, no sunrise. For the people of that planet, seeing was something they could not even imagine. They lived by sound, by touch, by heat, and by the rhythm of the air. To them, light was only a strange story told by their ancestors, something that didn't belong in their world anymore. Among them lived a young alien girl named Leora. She was small, quiet, and curious. Unlike others of her kind, she often sat alone, pressing her hands against the cold stones of her cave, trying to picture what the word bright might mean. When she was born, the elders had told her mother, "She will never see. None of us ever will. Light is gone." But deep inside her heart, Leora dreamed about something she had never experienced. Sometimes she would whisper to herself, "If there is something called light, what color is it?" She didn't know what color was, but the word felt warm inside her mind, like the pulse of a dream that refused to die. Then one day, the world trembled. From the upper sky, where no alien had ever gone before, a loud sound broke through the silence. The ground shook and the air tasted like metal and fire. Everyone in the valley screamed and ran into the tunnels. But Leora stayed still. She felt something new, a wave of heat and strange vibration, like the world itself had come alive. Later, she heard the elders whispering. They said the ancient monsters had returned. They said humans had come. Leora had heard of them in old stories, creatures of destruction, bringers of fire and ruin. But she also remembered something her grandmother once said before she died. Humans are the ones who walked with light. They made stars in their hands. That night, curiosity burned inside her stronger than fear. While everyone else hid underground, Leora followed the sound of human footsteps. The air was different near their camp, warmer, louder, filled with something that hummed and clicked. She crouched behind a rock, listening. She could hear laughter, deep, strange human laughter, and the sound of metal tools. She smelled oil, fire, and cooked food. Then a soft voice spoke in a tone she had never heard before. Calm, gentle, curious. "Careful, the generator's overheating again," said a human man. His name was Evan, though she didn't know it yet. Something about his voice made her chest tighten. It wasn't the voice of a destroyer. It was the voice of someone trying to fix things. For nights, Leora returned to that place. She stayed hidden but listened to their conversations. She learned the rhythm of their words, the way they spoke about stars and colors and dreams. They talked about light like it was normal. They talked about seeing like it was breathing. And then one night, fate played its cruel trick. Leora slipped on a wet rock while sneaking closer to the camp. She gasped as her foot twisted, and before she could run, she felt a rough, warm hand catch her wrist. She froze in terror. "Hey, easy, easy," a voice said softly. It was the same man she'd been listening to. Evan slowly let go, raising his hand so she wouldn't be scared. "You're hurt," Leora didn't reply. Her species didn't use eyes, but she could sense the shape of his face from his breathing and heartbeat. He was close. Too close. She stepped back, shaking. He noticed her strange eyes. Large, milky white, without pupils. "You can't see, can you?" he whispered. Leora didn't understand his words, but she could feel the sadness in his voice. He wasn't mocking her. He sounded sorry. He gently guided her to sit on a rock. "Don't move," he said, and he wrapped something soft around her ankle. It was cloth, warm and strange. For the first time in her life, Leora felt something she had never felt before, kindness from a human. The so-called monsters were supposed to destroy, not heal. When she tried to speak, her voice shook. "Why, help me?" Evan smiled faintly, though she couldn't see it. "Because that's what humans do," he said. "We fix what's broken." Something inside her chest flickered, a feeling she couldn't name. It was not sight, but it was close, something like warmth, something like color. He helped her stand, and before leaving, he whispered one thing that would haunt her for days. "Maybe," he said, "I can help you see." Then he walked back to his camp, leaving her heart pounding in silence. Leora stayed frozen in the dark long after he was gone. The air still carried his scent, oil, smoke, and warmth. She pressed her trembling hands against her eyes and tried to imagine what it meant to see. Could a human really create light again? Could he make her world something more than endless shadows? She didn't know. But one thing was certain. Evan had planted something new in her heart, not fear, not curiosity. Hope, and hope in a world without light burned brighter than any sun. Days passed after that strange night, but Leora could not forget the human's voice. His words echoed inside her mind again and again. Maybe I can help you see. She didn't even know what see truly meant. Yet those words had carved a light into her heart that refused to fade. Every night she crept close to the edge of the human camp. She would listen quietly from the shadows, counting every sound, the clicks of metal, the low hum of strange machines, the crackle of their campfire. And every time she heard his voice, something inside her chest would warm like the echo of something long lost. Evan didn't know she was there. He was busy with machines, tools, and sketches scattered around him. He worked when everyone else slept. His tent glowed faintly with artificial light, and inside he built something small, something delicate. His team thought he was wasting time. "Evan," said one of his crewmates, "why are you still here? This planet's a graveyard. No trade, no tech, no use. Let's pack up and go." But Evan only replied, "There's something worth saving here." No one understood that something was not an object, it was a person. Late one night, Leora finally gathered courage. She whispered from the shadows, "Human, are you still there?" Evan turned sharply, scanning the darkness. "Leora," he said softly, remembering the name she had told him before leaving that night. She stepped closer, trembling. "You said you could help me see." Evan nodded slowly. "I don't know if I can, but I'll try." She tilted her head. "Why?" "Because," he said, "when I looked into your eyes, I saw something humans have forgotten. Belief." He didn't tell her the whole truth. Years ago, Evan had lost his sister in an accident that blinded her. He had spent years trying to build a neural interface to restore her vision, but he failed. When she died, he swore he'd never build again, until he met Leora. Now, seeing her standing there, fragile but fearless, that old spark returned. He motioned for her to come closer. She walked slowly, guided by his voice. Evan reached out carefully, placing a small metal band near her head. "This is not ready," he said, "but it might help me understand how your mind works." Leora touched the band curiously. "Is this your magic?" He smiled faintly. "No, it's human stubbornness." The device glowed faintly, sending harmless waves through her nerves. On his screen, Evan saw strange patterns forming, something beautiful and complex. "Your brain reacts to sound like a map," he whispered in awe. "You don't see with eyes, you feel with sound. That's incredible." Leora didn't know what he meant, but she could feel his wonder. And for the first time, she realized humans were not gods or monsters. They were dreamers, just like her. Over the next few days, Evan and Leora met secretly in the ruins beyond the camp. He brought tools, small batteries, and light crystals. She brought food and whispered stories about her people. They were two different worlds sitting side by side, working on something that neither truly understood. Sometimes she would ask questions that made him pause. "What is blue?" He would smile. "Blue is like calm water that moves but doesn't hurt." "What is red?" He hesitated.
"Red is fire."
"It's danger, but also life. What is your color?" That one made him silent for a long time. Then he said quietly, "Maybe gray. Humans lost their color long ago." Leora frowned, not understanding, but she could feel the sadness in his voice. One night as they worked, the sky above rumbled with thunder. The storm brought acid rain that hissed against the ground. Evan grabbed his equipment, pulling her into the cave. "You'll get burned," he warned. She laughed softly. "You care too much." He looked at her seriously. "No, just enough." The storm passed, but it left behind a heavy silence. Evan stared at the half-finished device. It was working, but not safely. The power source could damage her nerves if anything went wrong. Still, he refused to give up. When his team discovered his secret project, they were furious. "Evan, are you insane? You're helping them? You're breaking first contact law." He ignored them. "I'm not helping them. I'm helping her." "Then you'll be court-martialed," his commander warned. "You'll lose everything." Evan's eyes were cold now. "Then I'll lose it for something that matters." That night he packed his tools and left the human base. He walked alone through the black desert, lightning flashing in the far horizon. And waiting for him under the broken towers of an ancient alien city was Leora. When she heard his footsteps, she smiled. "You came back." He nodded, setting his pack down. "We'll need to work fast. They'll come looking for me. Why risk it?" she asked. He looked at her for a long moment. "Because you believed me when I said you could see, and now I believe it too." In that forgotten city surrounded by shadows, a blind alien girl and a broken human engineer began building something impossible, a bridge between darkness and light. Neither of them knew what awaited them next. But both could feel it. Their worlds were about to change forever. The ruins were silent except for the soft hum of human tools. The once great alien city had been swallowed by sand and time. Broken pillars rose like giant bones under the black sky, and only the faint sound of crackling circuits echoed through the tunnels. Here, far from human and alien eyes, Evan built his secret workshop. He laid out his equipment on a flat stone: old scanners, wire coils, metal plates, and glowing energy cells stolen from his ship. Beside him sat Leora cross-legged, her hands exploring every shape he described to her. "This one," Evan said, placing a small metal sphere in her palm, "is a power core. It's dangerous if broken," she smiled softly. "Everything humans touch seems dangerous," he chuckled. "Maybe, but sometimes danger makes miracles." For days they worked in the ruins, building something both strange and beautiful. Evan called it the Light Seed. It was a neural translator, half machine and half biotech, designed to bridge human light sensing with alien sound mapping. He believed it could help her see. Leora didn't understand the science, but she trusted the sound of his heartbeat, steady and honest. Whenever his hands brushed hers, she felt warmth she couldn't explain. She had no word for it. Humans called it hope. At night, when Evan's tools went silent, they talked. "What do humans see when they look at stars?" she asked one evening. He smiled faintly. "Tiny lights in a huge sea of dark, each one burning alone. That sounds," said he. Nodded. "It is. But we still look up because it reminds us we're not the only ones trying to shine." For the first time, Leora felt she understood him, not through vision, but through silence. But their secret couldn't last forever. Unknown to them, the alien patrols had started scanning the wastelands. The elders believed humans were spreading corruption, teaching forbidden knowledge. They had already punished one family who was caught trading metal with humans. When soldiers found traces of human equipment near the old ruins, they followed the trail. One night, as Leora and Evan worked, the wind carried faint metallic footsteps. She tilted her head sharply. "Someone's coming." Evan froze. "How many?" "4. Maybe 5, she whispered. "They're armed." He grabbed the light seed and stuffed it into his pack. "We have to go." They ran into the lower tunnels, shadows stretching around them. The ancient halls moaned like ghosts as boots thundered above. A blinding flash shook the tunnel. Plasma fire. Evan pushed Leora down, shielding her with his body. Dust rained from the ceiling. He fired his flare gun once, lighting up the passage just long enough to see the exit ahead. "This way," he shouted. They stumbled through a narrow crack in the stone, squeezing into a dark chamber. Leora pressed against the wall, trembling. "Why are they chasing us?" "You only wanted to help me." Evan caught his breath. "Because some people fear change more than death." Her hand brushed his arm. "Will they kill you?" He smiled faintly, wiping the dust from her face. "They'll have to catch me first." But even as he said it, he knew their luck wouldn't last. When dawn came, they hid deep in the ruins. Leora slept against his shoulder while he checked the broken prototype. The light seed had been damaged during the escape. A thin crack ran through its energy core. "Damn it," he whispered. When she woke, she sensed his worry. "You're angry," she said quietly. "Not at you," he replied. "At myself. I should have protected it." She reached for his hands. "You always talk about seeing, but maybe you already do," he frowned. "What do you mean?" "You see people, not just shapes. You see what's good, even in the dark. Maybe that's what light really is." Her words hit him like a spark in his chest. He had spent his life trying to restore vision with machines, but maybe true sight wasn't made of eyes. It was made of belief. He smiled weakly. "Then I guess you've already taught me what I was trying to teach you." That night he worked again, this time with more care, more patience. He rebuilt the light seed using shards of alien crystal and his own blood as a conductor. When Leora asked why he did it, he said simply, "Because it has to work. For both of us." Outside, lightning crackled through the dark sky. The alien soldiers searched the wasteland, shouting orders. One of them held a tracker that pulsed faintly. Evan's stolen energy cells were giving them away. The next morning, Leora felt it first, the vibration of engines above. "They're here again," she said, panic in her voice. Evan stuffed the finished light seed into his satchel. "Then we test it now." "Now?" "But it's not safe." He grinned. "Neither am I." Before she could protest, he took her hand and led her toward the ancient elevator shaft that opened to the surface. The rising wind howled through the cracks, scattering dust and memories. The alien patrols were already descending into the tunnels. Leora turned toward the noise, fear shaking her voice. "Evan, they'll kill us." He looked at her with fierce determination. "Not before you see the world once." And as they climbed into the blinding storm above, lightning tore across the sky, white, wild, and alive. Leora couldn't see it yet, but she felt its power pulse through the air. Somewhere deep inside her, something awoke, an echo waiting to become color. The ruins shook with thunder as the storm raged above. The wind screamed through broken stone towers, and acid rain fell in slow, sizzling drops that burned everything it touched. Evan pulled Leora into a narrow cave opening just before lightning split the sky again. Inside, the air was heavy and cold. Leora sat against the wall, shivering, her breathing uneven. The glowing device, the light seed, rested between them, faintly humming with unstable energy. Evan stared at it silently. He had rebuilt it 100 times in his mind, but now this was the moment. It was ready, or as ready as it could ever be. Leora tilted her head, sensing his tension. "You're afraid," he smiled faintly. "Only of failing again." "Again?" she asked softly. He paused, the memory flashing through his mind. "I tried to help someone once. My sister, she was blind too. I built something like this for her. But it didn't work." Leora reached for his hand. "What happened to her?" He took a shaky breath. "She didn't survive the test." Silence filled the cave. Only the wind outside seemed to breathe. Evan's voice cracked. "I promised myself I'd never build again. But then I met you. You reminded me that some things are worth the risk." Leora's fingers tightened around his. "Then let me take it." He looked at her, startled. "You built this to bring light," she said calmly. "Then let it begin with me." Evan nodded slowly. He moved the small tools closer, his hands trembling slightly. "If it hurts," she interrupted with a gentle smile. "I've lived in the dark all my life. Pain is not new to me." He swallowed hard and placed the light seed near the base of her skull. It glowed faint blue, casting strange shadows on the cave walls. The hum grew louder, deeper. Tiny sparks danced along the wires, lighting the darkness for just a moment. Leora's breathing quickened. "It's warm," she whispered. "That's normal," Evan said quietly, checking the readings on his wrist console. "Your neural link is connecting." Suddenly her body jerked. The hum rose to a sharp whine. Evan cursed, adjusting the energy flow. "Come on, hold together." Leora's hands clawed at the ground, her voice trembling. It's too bright." "You can see something?" he asked urgently. "I don't know," she cried. "I feel light. But it's burning." The glow from the device turned red. Sparks flew. Evan ripped out a power wire before it exploded. Smoke filled the cave and everything went silent. When the dust cleared, Leora lay still. "Leora," Evan shouted, shaking her shoulder. "Stay with me." Her pulse was weak but steady. Her eyes, those pale, lifeless eyes, fluttered open. I saw something." Evan froze. "You did?" She nodded slowly. It was small, like fire, but then it disappeared. He sat beside her, tears welling in his eyes. That means it worked. Even for a second it worked, but the victory felt heavy. Her body was weak, trembling, drained from the test. Evan held her hand as guilt crept into his chest. "I shouldn't have pushed you so far," she smiled faintly. "Humans always say sorry when they give a gift." He laughed quietly through his tears. "That's because we don't know how to accept miracles." Hours passed. Leora slept, her body healing from the strain. Evan stayed awake, adjusting the damaged circuits, replaying every signal log. The more he studied, the more he realized the problem wasn't in the machine. It was in the energy itself. The planet's magnetic field interfered with the neural frequencies. He rubbed his eyes. If I could stabilize the field, she might see for real. But he was running out of time. Outside, alien soldiers were sweeping closer each day. His supplies were low and his communication device had gone silent. The last human ship might have already left orbit. When Leora woke again, she could sense his worry. "You think they'll find us?" "I know they will," he said quietly. But if I can make this work before they do, maybe they'll see what you've become and understand. Or they'll destroy us both, she whispered. He looked at her for a long moment, then smiled. Then we make sure they see light before the end. That night, the cave glowed softly as the repaired device pulsed like a heart. Evan calibrated every wire, his hand steady this time. Leora sat quietly, trusting him completely. Ready? He asked. Yes, she whispered. Even if it's just for one heartbeat. He activated the sequence. The hum deepened. A golden shimmer spread across her temples. Her breathing hitched, then slowed. Evan held his breath. Leora? Her lips parted slightly. I can see something moving. What do you see? He asked, voice trembling. Your light, she whispered. It's small like fireflies. They dance when you breathe. Tears rolled down his face. You're seeing energy fields. That's how it starts. She smiled weakly. It's beautiful. Then the hum stopped. The glow faded. The world went dark again. Leora leaned against his chest, exhausted but smiling. Even if it was only for a moment. I saw your light, Evan. I saw you. He held her tightly, unable to speak. Outside, thunder rolled once more, shaking the ground. Neither of them knew that far away, alien scouts had already spotted the energy surge. The experiment had worked, but it had also been seen. And soon, both the human and the blind girl who saw light for the first time would face the judgment of two worlds. The storm had passed. Only quiet remained. Quiet and the slow sound of breathing inside the cave. Evan sat beside the sleeping alien girl, his eyes fixed on the dim glow of the broken light seed. It was cracked, burned, almost useless now, yet his mind kept repeating her last words. I saw your light. He couldn't forget the look on her face when she said it, even though she had no eyes like his. There had been awe, joy, life. He touched the cracked core gently. It flickered for half a second like a dying star. Come on, he whispered. Don't quit on me now. Behind him, Leora stirred. Her voice was soft, fragile. You're still working, he smiled faintly. Humans don't stop easily. She sat up slowly, her fingers brushing the stone wall. Everything feels different. The air moves softer. That's because your nerves are still adjusting, he explained. Your brain is learning what light means. Light. She repeated the word carefully, like a secret. It sounds small but feels big, Evan nodded. That's exactly how it is. For a moment they sat in silence. The world outside was rebuilding itself after the storm. Strange glowing insects drifted through the ruins, lighting the air like tiny sparks. One landed near Leora's hand. She gasped suddenly. Her head tilted and her pale eyes widened. Wait, there's something. Evan looked up. What is it? She reached forward slowly, as if afraid it might vanish. It's warm, but also bright. I can feel it and I can see it. Evan's heart stopped. You can see it? I don't know what it is, she whispered. It's moving. It's glowing. It's orange, Evan froze. Orange? You said orange? She nodded, tears starting to gather in her strange eyes. Yes, it's like fire, but soft. It dances. He felt his throat tighten. The light seed was still connected to her nervous system. Even broken, it was working on its own. Somehow her brain had begun learning to translate energy into color. You're seeing your first color, he said quietly, his voice shaking. She turned toward his voice, smiling. Then this is light. He nodded, unable to speak. Leora's hand hovered above the small insect, its wings glowing like tiny embers. It's so beautiful, Evan. Is this what your people see every day? Yes, he whispered, his eyes wet. But we stopped appreciating it a long time ago. The next few hours were like a miracle. Leora began describing faint shapes, shadows, and lines of light. The cave that had always been darkness to her now shimmered with faint color. The rocks have a color too, she said softly. Not like fire, not warm. Maybe gray? Evan laughed in disbelief. You're naming colors faster than I did as a kid, she smiled. Then maybe I'm learning from the best teacher. Each hour her sight grew stronger. She saw flickers of blue light from his screen. The pale glow of his hands, even the spark of his tears when the firelight reflected. But miracles never last without a cost. That evening, as they prepared a small meal, Leora suddenly winced. It hurts, she whispered, clutching her temples. Evan rushed to her side. What's wrong? The light. It's too much. It's burning again. He checked the light seed. The unstable crystal core was overloading. It was drawing energy from her nerves, trying to stabilize through her body. Damn it, he muttered, quickly shutting it down. The glow faded and Leora slumped, breathing hard. I don't want it to stop, she said weakly. I still want to see. You will, he promised. But not tonight. You need to rest, she smiled faintly. I saw colors, Evan, real ones. I don't ever want to go back to darkness. He held her hand gently. You won't, I'll fix it, I swear. She looked toward where she thought his face was. Do you know what the most beautiful color is? He blinked. Which one? The one that lives in your voice when you talk about hope. Evan couldn't answer. He just stared at her, realizing this wasn't about invention anymore. It was about a promise between two broken beings who had found something new in each other. The next morning, light poured weakly through the cracks in the cave ceiling. For the first time, Leora saw it, thin golden rays cutting through the air like living rivers. She stood silently, tears falling as she whispered, The sky has color too. Evan smiled beside her. That's sunrise. She turned slowly, her eyes reflecting the faint gold. It's warm. I can feel it on my skin and see it in my heart. He nodded softly. That's what light is supposed to do. It touches everything. Before he could say more, his communicator crackled with static. A human voice came through. Evan, you're alive? The Alien Council has ordered your arrest. They say you're experimenting illegally. Evan's blood went cold.
How far are they?
They've sent patrols. 2 squads already landed near your coordinates.
Get out now!
He looked at Leora. She stood tall, still glowing faintly from the light seed's energy. What will they do if they find us? She asked quietly. He sighed. They'll destroy the device. And maybe us too. She looked toward the sunbeam again. Then they'll have to catch the light first. Her voice was calm, brave, almost royal. And in that moment, Evan understood. She wasn't just a blind alien girl anymore. She was becoming something far greater, the first being of her kind to ever see the colors of the world, and the first to be willing to fight for them. The golden morning did not last long. By noon, the silence of the desert was broken by the low hum of alien engines. Dust rose in spirals across the horizon. Evan and Leora watched from a ridge above the ruins, he with fear tightening in his chest, she with strange calmness glowing in her new eyes. They found us, Evan whispered. Leora nodded slowly, her glowing pupils reflecting the distant ships. They are my people, she said quietly, but they will not understand. Evan clenched his jaw. They won't listen either. They think I changed you against nature. You gave me what the universe denied us, she replied. They should thank you, not hunt you, he smiled sadly. People don't thank what they fear. Below them, 3 large alien crafts landed. Soldiers stepped out, tall and armored, their silver skin shimmering in the faint sunlight. The ground trembled as they approached the ruins. Their commander carried a glowing staff carved with the symbol of the Elder's Law. Evan grabbed his backpack and tools. We need to go deeper into the caves, but Leora stood still. No, she said softly. Running will only make them blind again. If I hide, they'll destroy what you built, and the hope inside me. He stared at her in disbelief. Leora, they'll kill you. She turned toward him, her golden eyes glowing brighter. Then let them see what they are killing. That evening, as the soldiers reached the ruins, Leora walked out alone. Her bare feet touched the dust gently, her head held high. The soldiers froze at the sight of her. The glowing lines on her temples pulsed softly with the rhythm of life. She's been touched by human corruption, one soldier hissed. The commander stepped forward, raising his staff. Leora of the blind kind, you stand accused of accepting forbidden light. You broke the ancient silence. Leora's voice was calm but powerful. Silence is not peace, she said. It's a cage, and I'm done living inside it. The commander's expression hardened. You dare defy the elders? I dare to see, she answered. Her words rippled through the crowd like thunder. Even the soldiers hesitated. Evan watched from the shadows, his heart pounding. He wanted to run to her, to protect her, but this was her fight now. The commander raised his staff higher. You will be taken to the council for purification. The human will be executed. At that, Leora's calm broke. No, her voice echoed through the ruins, shaking the dust from the stones. Her eyes flared with light, real light. The light seed inside her had awakened. Suddenly, Every crystal fragment in the ruins began to glow, responding to her heartbeat. The soldiers stepped back, shielding their faces. "What is this?" one of them shouted. Leora took a slow breath. "This is what you've been afraid of all your lives." The commander stumbled as beams of color, red, blue, gold, shot upward, piercing the black sky. It was the first true light their planet had seen in centuries. Evan stepped forward now, unable to stay hidden. "Stop this. You'll overload the energy field." Leora turned toward his voice, her expression softening. "Then stand beside me. If I fall, let it be with the one who showed me the stars." He ran to her side. The soldiers hesitated, blinded by the strange radiance. The commander shouted orders, but his voice was drowned in the sound of rising wind and humming stone. Evan looked at Leora. "You're drawing power from the planet itself. It's syncing with your neural field." Her voice trembled, but her smile stayed. "It's not power. It's life. The planet wants to see too." The sky began to change color, streaks of violet and gold spreading across the clouds. The soldiers fell to their knees, unable to believe what they were witnessing. For the first time in their long history, their world wasn't black anymore. The commander dropped his staff, his voice breaking. "Impossible." The prophecy of color. Leora's glow dimmed as exhaustion hit her. Evan caught her before she fell. "Easy," he whispered. She looked up at him weakly. "Did they see it?" He nodded, tears in his eyes. They saw everything, but their moment didn't last. A bright light from the sky grew larger. It was a human transport ship descending fast. The humans had come for him. The alien soldiers raised their weapons again, ready to fire at the intruders. Leora pushed herself up, standing between both sides. "No more killing," she shouted. Her voice echoed across the valley. "You're all blind in different ways." "He gave me light, not war." The air shimmered with energy. Both humans and aliens froze, their weapons lowering slowly. Even the commander bowed his head. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "we were the ones in darkness." The human ship hovered silently above, awaiting Evan's command. Leora turned to him. "They won't hurt you now. Go before they change their mind." He shook his head. "Not without you." She smiled softly, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the fading light. "You gave me colors, Evan. Now I must teach my people what they mean." He hesitated, torn between duty and heart. She touched his cheek gently. "Go. If the stars are kind, we'll meet again." As the ship lifted off, Leora watched it disappear into the heavens. The colors in the sky slowly faded, but not completely. A faint golden hue remained, a memory of what she had shown them. The alien soldiers knelt quietly. The commander whispered, "The blind one made us see." Leora smiled through her tears. The world was no longer dark, and neither was her heart. She turned her face toward the rising dawn. "He built me hope," she whispered, "and I'll make it shine for all." The world was no longer silent. For the first time in the history of her people, light lived among them. The sky still carried a soft golden shimmer that refused to fade, and the ruins glowed faintly each night, like embers from an old fire that would never die. Leora stood at the edge of the cliff, her hair moving in the wind. The warmth of the rising sun touched her face, and she smiled. She could see its color now, bright and alive. Gold, she called it. The color of hope. It had been many cycles since Evan left. The humans had taken him away to avoid war, but every dawn she looked at the horizon, searching for his ship. Some nights she dreamed of his voice whispering through the wind, never stopped looking for the light. The alien world had changed after that day. The elders, once feared like gods, had gone silent. The people now came to Leora, asking her to teach them about the colors she saw. Some followed her out of faith, others out of curiosity, but all of them wanted to understand the miracle she carried in her eyes. She spent her days walking across dark valleys, lighting ancient crystals with a touch of her hand. Villages that had lived in fear for generations began to glow faintly. Children followed her, laughing, calling her the seer of light. Yet deep inside, her heart still ached. She missed him, the human who had given her sight and then disappeared into the stars. Far above the planet, Evan watched the same sky from the viewport of a human space station. The council had questioned him for weeks, calling him reckless, dangerous, even insane. But then the images came, the proof that one alien girl had awakened color on an entire dark world. The story spread across colonies like wildfire. the blind alien who saw light. And with it, another story, the human who helped her. Scientists begged to study his invention. Governments offered him money and power, but he refused all of it. "It's not mine," he said. "It belongs to her." Every night he stared at the stars, searching for that faint golden glow on her planet's surface. It was still there, visible even from orbit. "She did it," he whispered. She kept it alive. Months later, a transmission reached him, faint, encrypted, barely readable. But the voice on the other end made his heart stop. "Evan, it's me." Leora's voice. Her signal was weak, breaking with static. "They said you were gone, but I never believed it. I want you to see what your hope has done." He gripped the console tightly. "Leora, how? How are you transmitting?" "I learned from your machines," she said softly. "You taught me how to build light, and light can carry messages too." Evan's eyes filled with tears. "You're incredible." There was a pause, and then her gentle laughter filled the speakers. "I told them about the stars, about blue and red and gold. They didn't understand at first, but now they're trying to make colors of their own. They paint caves with glowing stones. They say the world feels alive again." Evan closed his eyes, smiling. "You changed them, Leora." "No," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "We did." Static filled the channel again. "Evan, I want to see you again. Not in memory, but for real." His voice broke. "Then I'm coming home." When his ship entered the planet's atmosphere weeks later, the once dark world shimmered with light. Rivers of color spread across the deserts. Glowing plants covered the valleys, and children with faint glimmers in their eyes waved as his ship passed overhead. Evan stepped out, heart pounding. The air smelled of warmth and rain. At the top of a hill stood Leora, her golden eyes shining brighter than ever. She ran toward him. The moment they met, time seemed to stop. "You came back," she whispered. "I promised," he said softly, "and I don't break promises." They stood together under the golden sky, the color she had named hope. "I never told you," she said, her voice trembling. "But when I saw my first color, I didn't just see the world. I saw you," he smiled. "Then you saw right." Behind them, the alien people gathered quietly, their faces glowing with wonder. For the first time, their world was bright, alive with color, sound, and laughter. The elders, who had once condemned her, now watched with awe. Leora turned to the crowd. "This is what light truly means. Not just to see, but to understand." Evan stood beside her, watching as she raised her hand toward the sun. The sky burst into shades of gold and crimson, filling the air like living fire. Every heart on that world felt it. Warmth, unity, and something even deeper, hope. Later that night, as stars appeared one by one, Leora leaned against Evan's shoulder. "Do you think the universe was always meant to be dark?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "No, it was waiting for someone brave enough to light it up." She smiled faintly. "Then maybe we both did." He looked up at the sky. The stars reflected in her golden eyes, and for the first time he realized she didn't just see colors anymore. She was one, the color of faith, the color of courage, the color of hope. And somewhere in that glowing sky, two hearts, one human, one alien, shone brighter than all the stars combined. Because sometimes, light isn't born from fire or science. It's born from a promise kept,